What gives you confidence?
The biggest thing that gives me confidence is knowing who I am, like having an identity for myself. And for me, a lot of that comes from God. I am a believer in God and Jesus, so there's that. But I think the other thing is like having an identity for myself and not caring about the perception that other people put on me of like, well, you should be this way, or you should be a different way, or you should live up to this standard because only I can be me. And so I would say that my identity and then my experiences. So I just think that there's a lot of times confidence comes from experience. So the things that I've been through, the things that I've seen, the things that I've done, the conversations I've had, the hardships I've come through, a lot of that perspective looking back gives me clarity and confidence about moving forward because I know who I am and I know how I respond in good situations, bad situations, and everything in the in-between. And that journey for self-awareness, I think a lot of confidence comes from self-awareness. And I think a lot of people lack confidence because they're afraid to become self-aware. Because the reality is there's a lot about themselves they don't like. And I've had to come to grips with like, I was talking to a guy, he's in the room watching right now, like we talk a lot, like my personality it's a personality for sure, right? But I'm as aware as my strengths as I am of my weaknesses. And that doesn't mean like I make excuses for those. I need to grow. I need to be more graceful. I need to be more compassionate. But at the same time, I'm comfortable with the self-awareness that I've come to discover about me, my flaws, and my attributes. So that's where my confidence, I know where I'm weak. And it's like, oh, hey, dude, sometimes you can be really abrasive. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, and I apologize for that. Let's move on. But also, like, I'm not afraid to fully understand who I am and how context has shaped me and how experiences have shaped me. And so I know who I am, and I know what I'm created to be and do. And so I'm not out here. You also lose confidence when you get caught in the comparison trap. So I'm less confident when I say, they look better, they have more, they're whatever. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's fine because that's them and not me. And I don't want to be like that.
That's kind of why you chilled out on social media there for a little bit.
100%. We talked about that. Yeah. Okay. So you want me to tell that?
Yeah.
So I
very relevant.
If you looked at my IG right now, I think like all the vibe is gone. If there was ever any vibe to begin with,
there was so much vibe.
That's not true. And all of like my posts now are just about my family because, dude, I say all that about my confidence, and maybe to like backtrack on some of that. I was in a real place. Like if it didn't happen on social media, it wasn't real, or it wasn't real enough.
Yeah.
And so like I need people to see what I was doing. And I like realized even with my family, like in work and what I do and with my family, I put my phone away, but like I was so this all the time. And I had to get to a place where I'm okay if people don't see it, But I think some of that comes from that confidence too. So like I was not confident in that arena, realized like that was a red flag for me, had conversations with people close to me, and then actually practiced some confession. A guy named Jacob Saguero, who you need to meet, by the way. He's a legend. Shout out, Jacob, if you're watching. You're not, but I'll send you the link. He will watch. And then Kendrick Williams. And we were just at an event together, and I was just like, hey, I got to go. I got to, like, hide my life because I have too much. Like, I need people to see it.
But that speaks to the point of self-awareness.
Sure.
I mean, if it takes a little self-awareness to do that, and it takes community to help you follow through with how you need to step into it. I think community that's high quality helps us be more self-aware because they're also kind in us being more self-aware, and they guide us, and we trust them. There's a lot of trust there. But at the same time, what you're talking about is to get a body of work where it's like, hey, I've done this, I've experienced this, and now I have a body of work that's really gives me the confidence I need to do the next thing. I think a lot of times people, they take the big jump or they want to take a huge jump into their future, but they're not doing the 10 between where they are and where they want to be. They just want to take the big jump.
Well, because nobody shows that part.
Oh, right. No one shows the come up.
No.
They just show I've arrived.
Yeah, it's like, it's like the age-old, like, high school and college students leave their parents' house and they want their first home to be their family home. Like, but they didn't see like the apartment, or like my kids don't know anything about the Johnson basement apartment that flooded every time it rained.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right.
And so like in everything, people see what you've achieved and they never see that behind the scenes grind, or they don't see like the hard stuff.
No, that's right.
You know, the bad stuff. And so they want where you've been or what they see, but they don't want the rungs on the ladder that it took to get there.
Exactly. This is a unique conversation we're going to have, and that we are having, because for the first time, we really have our biggest crowd joining us. So thank you guys for being here, all the way from, most of them are from Florida, from Tallahassee. So shout out to Florida, Tallahassee. It's where my sister lives. My brother-in-law, my gosh, he's amazing. And then all their little kids, love those guys. Hey, look, so what's cool about this convo, as everyone listening, this is going to be really the youth podcast, the college podcast. And so because most of the people here are in college, we're actually letting them kind of guide the conversation.
Yep.
So that first question was texted in to me. And so I'm just going to pull up questions that they have, and you and I are going to just riff and get after it. So if you want to know what someone in college is thinking, if you have questions, you're in college, this is maybe the episode for you. And I think this is going to be a really powerful episode. Patrick, you've worked for over 10 years with college students, high school, middle schoolers. And so with that, you would be really an expert kind of in that world because you really care about them. Yeah. Why do you care about the next generation?
Well, I think because, well, one, like I had my breakthrough at 15, 16. So that's my story. Like I see my story in that time frame. Like, but also I care about them because they're actively becoming the right, and I know this gets overplayed, but it's true. Like they're becoming the now generation, and they are the future. And so it's, for me, it's like, it's the pipeline, like it's the development, right? And there's like two things you can do. You can either look at middle school, high school, and college students, and you can rag on them, and this pisses me off. And like, it's so easy to throw insults at them and be distant. Like, oh, well, they don't work the way I worked, and you know, they have no ethic, and they have no whatever. Or you can insert yourself into their subtext and like subculture, rub shoulders with them, and try to build them up. And so for me, if like you want to change the world, then build up young people who are going to put their hands on the steering wheel and drive where we're going. So for me, I care about them because I think sometimes too, like I just have a vision where sometimes I believe more about them than sometimes they believe about themselves. And sometimes that does come out in like my personality of like, hey, I just feel like you're sucking right now. Like I feel like you're being a little less than the best version of you, and you can be better, right? And sometimes that's like, but really it's like, I love them and I care about them because I believe in them. Like I really do believe they have the purpose and potential to change the world for real.
You know, every like big adjustment or shift in culture usually comes from college-age students, young people. And so I think this is a great question. Can you talk about how motivated young professionals can find / exercise their voice in the workplace?
Well, yeah, I think the way you find your voice and exercise it in the workplace is two things. One, do what you're passionate about, and two, be good at what you do. Right? And so, like, pursue your passion. Like, where are you uniquely gifted, and what do you care about a lot? And throw yourself into that. And then two, work really, really hard to be good at what you do so your voice matters.
Ooh. You know what I think separates someone's voice? I think what separates someone's voice is when they are passionate about being themselves.
Yeah.
When you realize that you are already unique, and you bring that to the table to try and add to whatever you're a part of, you will find your value in that. And then surround yourself with people that value you and pour into you.
Yeah.
And don't get better.
Right. Well, yeah, I think it's like, it's both and, right? It's like, know who you uniquely are so that way you can be confident. You can have that confidence, which we talked about. But then also bring competency to the table too. Because I think there's two sides of the coin, yeah?
Yeah.
This may be a little anti what you just said. Maybe we can have some disagreement and dialogue it out. Because I think there's also a real vein in young people right now where they're like, I'm unique, I'm special.
Oh, sure.
And for me, I'm like, yes and amen. That's awesome. But you realize everyone else holds that view too.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's unique and special, and you want to be treated unique and special, but so does the person on your left and your right.
Yeah.
So what separates you in that? Yes, you are unique, special. You need to know your value. You need to know your worth. But what makes your voice stick out from everyone else saying, hey, see me, acknowledge me, I'm unique and special, make space for me, is when you're competent. And we're talking specifically in this young adult, young pro, that young professional age, right? So what's going to make your voice cut through the noise, the problems you solve for whatever organization you're in? They don't create a problem, solve the problem, right? So
Yeah, I think we're talking about two different things.
I think one is the door to the other.
Sure. And what you said is that I think is different is see me, make space for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's actually how we become a part of anything. Is when we say, "Hey, look at me."
Yeah.
It's when we actually serve the thing that we're a part of in our own unique way, in a valuable ad, and that's when we actually step into our greatness.
Yeah.
Is when we serve the greater good, if you will. Yeah. And then we find out what we're actually good at.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's difficult to find out what you're good at until you're serving.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to burn those reps, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, why do I need to do internships and like residencies? And like, why do I need to do, and you said serve, right? Like, why do I need to do some of that level of stuff? Well, it's not just always to serve the org. Sometimes you need to do that to figure out what you don't freaking like.
Yes.
And like what you're not good at. And so it's like, man, I learned as much about my, internship at the University of Tennessee Medical Center doing logistics as I did when I discovered my passion. And what I discovered is like, I hate this. I don't want to do this. Like, I'm not good at this. It's not what I want to do. So yeah.
Yeah, but Patrick, I'm struggling. I just want to be authentic. Patrick, I just want to be my authentic self. Yeah. I was listening to somebody the other day talk about that, and I think that's valuable, right? Like, but if your authentic self is to steal my car, let's not be our authentic self.
Yeah.
Like, let's be a different version of that. Yeah. Like, maybe we should authentically be somebody else.
Yeah.
Have a better model. It's
it's like, okay, so make space for the idea that your authentic self needs improvement.
Hey.
It's like what I was talking about, like where my confidence comes from. I know my personality. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm weak at, and I'm okay with the burden of that knowledge. So I need to operate in my strengths,
right? And
I need to improve and grow in my weaknesses. But I would not tell you that my true self is my best self. My true self is the real raw me, my great spots and my low spots, and self-improvement is managing that tension, and self-awareness is knowing where I'm gonna. Okay, your dad plays golf. I play golf.
Sure.
You ever? Does he ever talk to you about
you seem like a great golfer?
No, I'm not. But has he ever talked to you about know your miss? Like if you're on the tee box and where's your miss?
Yeah. Where do you
like your bad shot is off and to the right.
Sure.
Then aim freaking left.
Sure.
Right? So that's for me. Like know your miss, and your true self. And yeah, if your true self is like klepto and you want to steal crap, don't aim towards that. Right?
Yeah.
It'd be better.
Let's head a different direction, maybe.
Yeah.
But that may be not the best version of you.
Yeah. Well, okay, but there's this underlying current where it's hard for our culture to admit that my true authentic self might be broken or damaged.
Right.
Like the current climate of the culture is, if I discover my true self, I'll find power. And that doesn't make a lot of space for your true self has a lot of brokenness and imperfection. So you gotta, if you go down that path, you gotta be okay or at least open to the idea that the true you might need a little improvement.
And where are you headed?
Yeah. Yeah, and your life has a direction.
Where are you headed? So if you don't work on the best version of you, you're probably not going anywhere.
Right.
You know, and it's in some ways I need to work on and become the person and be the authentic self that my future self would be proud of.
Right.
You know, I love the idea of thinking about what would the 80-year-old version of you say to you right now?
Mm.
You know, and
Yeah.
and how would they help you understand that what you're doing doesn't matter, or what you're doing does matter, or how you're thinking is bad, or how you're thinking is good. I think we need to start taking our own advice that we would give someone else that we love.
Right.
I bet we know more than we think we do when it comes to difficult questions and difficult things.
Yeah, and maybe ask yourself the difficult question. You said this last night. This was a new idea for me. We were at a dinner together last night, and you asked a room full of people, who do you need to become for us to go this way? And you talk about starting a movement, like in this community. And I was like, oh, frick, dude, that's good. Because a lot of times, what do we ask? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to study? What job do you want to have? Like some of that stuff. But it's like, who do you need to become? You know? Because I feel like the problem with that 80-year-old question, and maybe some of y'all are thinking this, is like, well, I don't know who I'm going to be at 80.
Right.
That's a problem. Like, who do you want to be? Because you don't drift towards intentionality. And like,
I think just realizing that you're going to be 80 is a big deal.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be old one day is a big deal.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be older one day is a big deal.
Yeah.
So how you spend your time and who you are today really does, that stacks.
Well, because transition is coming. So we're talking about the youth, young people, right? Your time is running out. It's like I'm 32, and I'm at that weird transition where I'm not
You're
old.
32?
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah. Can't you tell?
I can't. No.
So I'm not old, but I'm not in this category that we would be talking about anymore, right?
No, yeah, you're definitely
So
not.
the hard thing is like and maybe it's the rebellious mind, or like you can't define me mind, or whatever, but it's always been a caricature of the young generation, that we're different and we're better. But being the young generation or the young professional, that's not an identity. That's a stage. Yeah. And you're leaving that stage right now.
And
right?
in some ways, you could be behind.
Yes.
If you play the comparison game. But in other ways, you could be way ahead.
Right.
If you can play use the comparison game. But at the same time, it's people overestimate what can happen in a year.
Yeah.
And they underestimate what can happen in 3, 5, 10. And what changed my life is the question. I was walking downtown Atlanta. And Atlanta had this huge city transformation, and it totally transformed the whole downtown city.
Shout out ATL.
Yes, shout out to ATL. And this pastor asked me, he said, what are you thinking about right now that's going to last and make a difference in the next 100 years?
Mm. Yeah, what's your legacy gonna be?
And I thought to myself, wait a second, hold on. I can live a life right now that is making an impact in the next 100 years?
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you can do things and be a part of something that lasts beyond you.
Yeah, and can I go off on this for a second?
Come on.
Your youth is not a waiting room.
Yes.
So I am a pastor. I preach. That's how I do that. And I preach this.
I love listening to you communicate, by the way. My
Thanks,
gosh.
dude. I preached this collection of sermons to a student ministry that I was leading. It called My Youth Is Yours. And for that community of faith, the idea was like, hey, what if you,
That's a good song.
Yeah, that's where we got the idea.
I know.
I won't sing it because I'm terrible. But the whole idea is, what if you didn't waste your youth on you? Because you go back through history and what we said, and I don't know if it's going to make the cut, if it's an intro or not, but go study movements of importance. Youth always lead them. There's always been in every generation a remnant of young people who've decided they're not going to use their youth for themselves, or they're not going to treat their youth as a waiting room. Like personal pet peeve, like I know we got to figure stuff out. I know we got to catch a vision, and not everybody is as driven or gets a clear calling and direction. But like your college years can be directional or they can be drifting. Like it can be the waiting room of like, and then when I graduate, I'll figure it out. Or you realize you get one life. You only get so much time. And so you could get really intentional, and you could develop, and you could get direction, and you could catch some drive, and you could ask yourself that question, who am I going to be when I'm 80? And then what is that 80-year-old when I die at 85 maybe? I don't want to live much longer than 85, dude. You seen 85-year-olds? Like, it's not great at 86.
So
like
I think it depends.
Yeah.
I was hanging out with an 80-year-old the other day. My dude was spry.
Well, Denver preserves this. It's like you're a mile up in the air. You got good red blood cell air. I hear it preserves you. The sun. I mean, the sun's killing me right now.
Have a clue.
No, I don't. Yeah, I do. I think that's true. You could be taking hills at 80 if you live right.
But what would you say to the person that's here that hasn't decided what direction they're going to go? Because that's one of the questions I just got.
Yeah.
So how do you help me decide? Help me decide on where I'm headed. So the question is, what would you say to a college student that doesn't know where they're headed?
Yeah. I would say start with where you don't want to go.
Oh, yeah. Like it's easier to put on the list, I'm not going this direction.
Yeah.
Or I don't like that.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah. Start with where you don't want to go. And from there, I would say you have to, and this is kind of what's hard to, you have to open yourself up to a community to speak into your life in affirmations and just trying to think of another A word to be cool, but like really you just have to open up yourself to be affirmed or to be shot down. So it's like, hey man, I think this is really where I want to go with my life. Could you, like, people who are close, like your inside circle, not an outside circle. So it's like I'm starting like, man, I know I don't want my life to be this. I don't want to like this. Here's my passions. Here's what I think I'm gifted and good at. But then I'm opening up my life to be like, hey, could you affirm that in me? Like, do you think that?
So I listened to this billionaire talk about this exact thing. Okay, billion, right? With a B. So what's cool about this is,
how is Jeff Bezos doing that?
we don't know each other.
Okay.
But
Elon?
I was listening to this. No,
sorry.
Actually, it was a financial billionaire. He said, make as many decisions as you can today.
Yeah.
Make as many decisions as you can today. And you will learn and put into practice things faster than everyone else. And guess what? You'll learn quicker than everyone else. Because it's a speed of learning game that determines your wealth. And wealth in any direction.
Right.
So we're not just, I'm not
emotional
just talking
wealth,
about,
spiritual wealth.
It's just
relational,
not just finance. Yes, all of it. And so start making decisions, and then you realize someone's intelligence, how quickly they put into practice what they've learned determines how intelligent someone actually is. The speed at which you put what you know into practice. And I was like, dang.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that too. I think too, a thing is you've got to, so okay, for me, my personal advice would be start with what you don't want to do. Like you that, like you got that knowledge. And then when you think about my passions, my skill set, what I think I want to do, go throw yourself into that and go run after people who are like big in those spheres or run in those spheres. So that way you can make the I don't want to do that list bigger.
Right.
Or in that you find ding, 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 like this is the one I want to do. But it's like, man, I think that I want to be a teacher. Okay, so you got to throw yourself into that sphere. Like you got to throw yourself into teacher-esque things, like internships, shadowing teachers, being around kids, all that. Because if you find out you hate kids at 19, it's going to be easier for you to shift the course of your life at 19, 20 than when you're 5 years into a teaching job and then you're having an existential crisis because you're like, I wasted my college years and now I'm in a job that I hate, but I'm super specific, educated in this, and now I got to like find new direction. And then you spiral into this, I don't even know myself. And so now I got to go rediscover who I am because we wasted our youth and treated it like a waiting room and didn't get intentional.
So another question I think is really good is that we just got was how can what you do not determine who you are? Because in some ways we're talking about job.
Yeah.
So, but does job determine who I am, or how do I deal with that?
I think, honestly, there's some semantics on this, so I'm interested to see what you think.
Ooh, good.
But it's like...
Hit me with some of those semantics.
Okay, so
running,
running, okay?
Great.
Running. Do I get up and run because I want to be a runner? Or do I run because I'm cemented in the identity I am a runner? Which one of those is true?
Probably both.
Yeah, both, right?
Right.
Like it is both.
Yeah.
And so... For me, read the question again.
So it is, how do I not let what I do determine who I am?
I don't know if you can. Because the things you do make you who you are, and who you are drives what you do. That's my opinion. And that's like, I don't want to take a stance, but I think like both are true. So the reality is and we're back to this self-reflection, self-awareness idea and community idea. I have to be a person and have people who help guide me on this is who I want to be.
Yeah.
And who I want to be does 1, 2, and 3. And these are the things that I need to be doing to become that person, even though I know I'm not that person yet. So I think if you go one way or the other, you torture yourself easy versus reality in life and like it's complex. It's both, right? And you can read Atomic Habits and you can hear or Simon Sinek and people talk from both sides of the aisle and it leaves you in confusion. I'll be a voice of clarity. It has to be both. It has to be both. It has to be, I want to be a runner, so I'm going to go buy, what's the best running shoe? I'm not a runner. I'm 5'6", and I run like a 6'5" 40, okay? And if I ran 500 feet, I would die, okay? And I
almost had you
and I have a bad
this
ankle.
morning.
No
Well,
way.
you were close.
But what's a good running shoe?
It depends on what you're doing, which is really funny.
Yeah.
But let's go with the new North Face for trail running.
Yeah. Why that one? Okay. The North Face. So it's like, okay, so I'm going to go buy those shoes, and I'm going to buy that cool running outfit you were wearing that you picked me up yesterday from Union Station, and I'm going to do all that stuff because I want to be a runner, so I'm going to do what runners do. Or, you see what I'm saying? So do I do those things because that's the identity that I want to be? Or do I deeply set myself in this identity of like, whether I just run for 2 minutes today, I can do that because I don't have to achieve the big do things that runners do because that's my identity already. So out of my identity, I'm going to do those things. Does that make sense? You tracking with me?
Yeah.
You got to do both. So it's got to be, who do I want to be? And then I got to get real and look at myself in the mirror and say, that's not who I am right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I would add a simple kind of thought that I have in this moment to it is what I do isn't who I am, but it is a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a part of it.
Yeah. What I do isn't who I am, but it does define me.
Yeah.
Oof.
It sets me up.
Yeah.
It totally sets me up on who I'm going to become, where I'm going.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a big deal when you decide, hey, I'm going to give my life to this thing.
Yeah.
Because I think most people, let's just say many people, maybe most, are living for retirement.
Yeah.
And now are you going to wait to live your best life whenever retirement hits in your 60s? Because that's a lot of time.
Yeah, why not right now? Like,
What's the fear? In your opinion, what's the fear?
I don't know if there is a fear. I think, I mean, maybe there is one, but for me, I think most of what I see is like.
But people are. I think people are. Maybe that they wouldn't say fearful, but they're somewhat afraid of that.
Well, maybe the fear and the hesitancy is like I have to like I hear this a lot from college students and like high school students is like they're not, maybe not fearful, that's the wrong word, let's discover the right one, but they're upset, let's use an easy word, that they don't know right now and they feel like they should. Does that make sense?
So what should they do?
I think you gotta get comfortable with, you don't have to have it figured out. Like, there's no like set bullseye and like, and if you don't have it figured by this time, and if you're not graduated on this time.
So where's the pressure you should put on someone's life then?
Yeah, I think
because the pressure is all on figure it out.
Yeah.
So pressure's not bad because pressure helps us make something that is valuable, that
to
is
me
special.
The pressure is, do you know who you want to be, and are you taking control of your life to become that person?
Yeah, and are you waiting?
Yeah, are you just like, I don't know, I'll figure it out as it comes to me. Oh, I want to throw up.
Why?
Because you're treating your life like a waiting room, and you're never going to get, say you're 20, you're never going to get your 20 ever again. You're going to be 21 next year, and you're going to be 22, and you're going to be 23.
If you could go back in your 20s, what would you tell yourself differently then? Because you did a good job of living your life to the fullest.
I would tell myself that this is going to be kind of spiritual. Is that okay?
I don't care.
It's great. I would tell myself that my assignment is not my calling. So I struggled in my 20s because I felt like God had called me to do ministry.
Yeah.
But I wasn't in a ministry assignment. So I hit like, I don't want to super label it depression because people struggle with that much more than kind of just the sadness and like lack of motivation and slothfulness that I had. But I was down. Like, I was like, God, man, I'm not going to be able to actually live my life until I get that job. And I was thinking more of what I do versus like who like God has called me to be. And then when I realized like my calling was an identity and a life to live, not a job to do, I was like, oh, I could do that in all these different assignments. And dude, I think we may be striking on this, but of course I'm going to take it from a spiritual lens. I am a pastor. Is I think people's real thing is they don't know who God's called them to be. And so they're looking for like identity and purpose in a job. And when you think about that, when you think about people finding their identity, okay, random people meet on the street. Hey, I'm Patrick.
I'm Trevor.
What's the next time I say?
What do you do?
Why do we do that?
I think it gives a good, quick definition probably.
Because what I do is who I am.
Sure.
I'm a lawyer. So I think when you don't have that strong...
It quickly gives an assumption to the other person. It lets you know a lot more about
And so
them.
like when you're in college and you don't know the degree you want to do and you don't know, and like you're figuring out all the stuff, it's like, man, I don't even know who I am. It's like, yes, and that is the problem. It's just not the problem the way you think it is.
100%, because what you get paid to do doesn't have to be the thing that you're focused most on.
Right.
And what you get paid to do doesn't have to be the thing that you're giving your life to.
Mm-hmm. But if it can be, that's the sweet spot, right?
Sure.
Yeah, we would call that the sweet spot. Where your greatest talents and your greatest passions intersect, that's the sweet spot. And we want everyone to find their sweet spot and live in it. And I think sometimes, like, if we're going to go like out of the spiritual clouds and into the weeds, I think part of it is people got to make peace sometimes that your passion and your sweet spot is not going to make you wealthy.
Sure. But it's not limited to, nor does it determine if.
Right, yeah.
So
and it's just like,
maybe,
it's like, yeah,
maybe
just
not.
make peace
That's
with
not.
that. It's like, man, I want to, I've had a conversation with a guy here. I want to be like an elementary PE teacher. Well, that's great. But to really find fullness and satisfaction, if that is your sweet spot, you got to also be okay. Like, okay, well, that's not going to make you wealthy.
Well, also, like, let's reimagine that job. For example, when someone asks you, what do you do, and you're that, one of the ways that you can actually be doing something that lasts beyond you is defining what you do differently or seeing what you get paid to do in a bigger way.
Yeah. And that goes back to what you said. We're staying in the pocket. We're staying in lane. What are you going to do that lasts forever?
Yeah.
What's your legacy?
Right.
So that 80-year-old, back to that idea, who do I want to be when I'm 80? Like, and what is that person going to leave behind that lasts forever, more than just your life? And so, how does your vocation leave a legacy that's bigger than, oh, that was my 9 to 5. That's what I got paid to do. But I think, okay, so maybe the fear is I can't pursue that because it doesn't give me the life that I want, the lifestyle that I want.
Then don't.
Yeah,
and
it's
see
like,
where it takes you.
Or my personality goes,
Sure.
that look in the mirror and bite down on the mouthpiece. Because that's your passion. Okay, it's like, okay.
Sure.
Well, that's nobody's making you do that. That's your passion. You just got to know that, right?
I think a lot of people's passions, though, are good ideas.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's their actual passions.
Okay.
Because if they fleshed it out, and if it was really their passionate, they couldn't help but do that thing.
Yeah.
Which is the mouthpiece.
Right.
Like, get after it.
Yeah, which is like those
Concept.
people's like, this is the only thing I can do with my life, which is kind of like where I landed.
Sure, then why are we having the conversation?
Right.
Because you're giving yourself other options.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't burn the boats, so to speak, and there's no other option, then there will always be other options that steal our attention.
Yeah.
Because, maybe.
Yeah. So to answer that question super practically, because I feel like we've both rambled and ranted, I would say, how do you get direction? Like if you don't have one, pick one. And then when you realize it's the wrong one, quickly adjust. Like start with where I don't want to go. Okay, I don't want to go this way, so I'm going to head that way. Go that way. Pursue it. And as you add up yeses and nos, make a no stack and make a yes stack. And set this one to the side and then run after those things. And just be real with yourself about where that path leads. And don't use your youth as a waiting room. Use it as, no, like this is a launch pad. I'm launching into something. So if I'm not preparing, if I'm not becoming the best version of myself, if I'm not learning self-awareness, if I'm not making peace with the career path that I'm on and what it takes to do that and where realistically that's going to land me in my income and in my lifestyle and in my quality of life and all of those things, then you're wasting your youth.
I love this idea of on the other side of the risk is the reward.
Sure.
And the younger you are, the easier it is to take a risk because you don't have a ton of responsibilities just yet.
Yeah.
And so make a calculated one. Make one that would be valuable enough where you can actually learn something and then put that thing that you've learned into practice immediately.
The hardest thing to get through to a younger generation without losing chips of relational equity is the message that it never gets easier than this. Because their world is big, right? And they've got stuff that's going on. And I think sometimes like that is the loss, right? So you got people who have full-time job, 3 kids, whatever, and it is more busy and it is like the stakes are higher, but their world is still their world. So the messaging get lost of like, oh, well, talk to me when you're living real life. Well, that is their real life, right? But the messaging needs to be, hey, your world is your world and it's world-sized, and my world is my world and it's world-sized. But what you need to know about the difference of our worlds is this. It's never going to get easier than it is right now for you. Sure. So make decisions. Yeah. Do things. Yes. Try everything.
Yes. Try everything in the directions. But I would say this. Write the direction down. Know the direction you're headed right now. If you don't know the direction you're headed right now, it's going to be more difficult for you to dream, and it's going to be more difficult for you to assess if where you're headed is worth it to you. And so I love thinking about direction in this order. If I could give you an order, it would be page, person, plan. That's how you can take care of your soul on the way to where you want to go. Have a page where you flesh out what's going on internally with you, where you're fleshing out how you feel, your emotions, what's going right, what's going wrong. Have a page. And if you can have a page, find a person. Find a person that you trust. Find a person you'd like to be more like. Find someone that has the character that actually compels you, that you'd like to maybe even add to your life. Maybe they're one step ahead. Maybe they're a lot of steps ahead. When I was really your age, I had a 75-year-old man. He's 75 now. I guess he was 65 then. So 65-year-old man began to spend time with me, changed my life. I've spent the last 11, 12 years with him, coaching me, mentoring me, challenging me, being my friend, and he's become a friend. I have a best friend who's 75 years old, and I'm 34. That's hilarious, right? But it's powerful. So have a person. And then from there, what's the plan? Have one. Just always have a plan. By the way, we can pivot in all of these things. Just make sure you are being specific with every single one of those things, consistent with every single one of those things, and actually growing in the direction you want to go. I think that one of the most valuable things that someone that is young or someone that is old, a human can do, is have an aspect or willingness to grow.
Yeah.
If you have a desire to grow, you will get where you want and need to go.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah, it's either...
It's only a matter of time.
Right. That's so true. It's like, again, it's that wasting your youth idea. It can all be about fun and shirking the responsibility of adult life until it comes. Or you can realize that it's a preparation season and a development time to become who you're going to need to be when you do enter in to you're not young anymore. And guess what? A generation is coming up underneath you faster than you realize that is just as disconnected from you as you feel disconnected from 30-year-olds.
Sure.
So you're like your window, you're losing your window. And then you're not unique anymore. And then you're just some mid-30-year-old and the world is looking at you saying, hey, why don't you have it together? It's like, I'm young. Oh, you were? Not anymore. Quick. Man, it happens quick, right?
It does.
And so it's like your youth is not an identity. It's a stage. It's a phase. And you're only going to get it one time. And so like you're going to leverage that phase to use your youth to develop and to grow and to try things and whatever. Or you're going to waste it on you. And then when you get out of it, you're going to have nothing to show for it but like a really good 4 or 5 year run where you had a lot of fun. Put a lot of stuff on Snapchat, you know?
Sure.
But I think, too, one of the things you said is so good is, like, how do you get direction? I'm just going back to that guy, trying to think practically. I feel like, if I'm sharing my personal story just a little bit, I feel like I had a lot of direction because I knew what I didn't want to be. My parents, I love my parents now, but my parents were not great growing up. So I had a lot of dysfunction, a lot of trauma, capital T trauma, a lot of stuff. And I knew what I didn't want to be, right?
Right.
And so from there, not knowing what I didn't want to be, I just looked at men and women around me and was like, oh, I want to be like that. And then I just intentionally went to them and said, hey, how do I do this? How do I get to where you are? And then, novel idea, I just listened and then took their freaking advice.
Yes.
You know? And like one of the most encouraging ideas to me is like when you find the person like you want to become, someone who's more successful than you or like has reached the pinnacle or whatever, is like when you realize they have the same 24 hours in a day that you do. So what separates you? They spend theirs better. That's the only thing that separates us is like there's a guy right now, he's like, man, hey, will you disciple me? Will you mentor me for not religious language? And I was like, yeah. And the biggest thing I'm mentoring him and it's like, hey, dude, you're less than what you want to be because you spend your time like crap. It's like there's some of these things you want to be like me in, which is humbling, like be better than me, pick somebody better. But like the only reason we're different is I spend time better than you do. I just spend my time. You get 24 $1 bills, and so do I. And you spend yours like trash, and I spend mine just a little bit more intentional. I'm not amazing. I'm not leaps and bounds better than you as a person. I'm just a little bit more intentional. And so finding that person or that template though, and then running after that, that's a good place to get direction too.
Lydia asked a great question about motivation. So how do you stay motivated in the middle of this calling, in the middle of this purpose, in the middle of this, direction? How do you stay motivated?
Because it's who I'm becoming. There's not a finish line.
So it's greater than you put more value in that.
Right. And so it's like if I have rough seasons or whatever, that's okay because I'm on the way. You see what I'm saying? It's like I want to live my life. And I don't know where this conviction necessarily has come from, maybe from my faith, but like I just want to live my life where opposition or oppression or things that go wrong just mean I'm headed in the right direction. Like because there's gonna be stuff that comes along, and I'm not saying that I never wake up like super like frick, dude. what am I doing? I've had that since I moved to Tallahassee. Love you, Luke. But he's like, I've had moments where I'm like, yeah, what am I doing? But when I take that moment and I make it submit to the bigger picture of where I'm going, and in the light of that, I let myself have bad days. It's like I can burn one bad day. I can burn a bad week. Man, this week was rough, or like this week was tough. But that's okay because I'm in progress. It's where I'm going. And so if the direction, if I'm still headed in that direction, then I'm good.
One of the things that I love what you're saying is you're saying, I value so much about where I'm going that the things along the way are really valuable to me.
Yeah.
And so when they stack up, I have valuable experiences, I have a valuable life because I'm headed somewhere.
Right.
Well, how does that location not be something that overcomes us? Meaning, like, how do we live in the moment then? Because if life is lived here and not there,
mm-hmm.
how do I enjoy where I am and it not overwhelm? And I'm not always living in the future.
Yeah, I say it again the same way and try to make it more applicable or like kind of nuts and bolts or granular because, again, because it's where I'm going, right? And so the road to who I want to be at 80 goes through my 30s. So it's okay to be here for a minute. You know what I'm saying? So like this part is important. I'm not looking past it.
Is your direction age dependent?
No. I'm just saying that because we talked about that.
No, I agree, but I think that's important.
Yeah.
I think who you want to become and what you want to do with your life is not dependent on how old you are.
Yeah. So for like transparency, I want to specifically, I want to leave my kids a life, and this is super specific to me, where when I die, Kylie Jo and I were talking about this the other day, where when I die, Theo, Phoebe, and Zuri speak and are impacted by how close and present and in their corner in their life that they were, like I was as a dad. I want to have impacted the kingdom of God where there are people who are saying, if I hadn't have met him, not because I'm great, but because I think I carry a great message, like my life was changed. And so generations of people underneath that were changed. And that's where I want to be. Like, that's where I want to go. I want to make a difference for the kingdom of God. I want to impact people's life where they can find life and life to the full. I believe that. John 10:10 is Jesus says that I've come that they may have life and life abundantly. I think we're all looking for abundant life. I just believe there's only one place to find it, and I want to lead people to that. And then I want to leave my kids, because it's not really been my experience, where they're like, man, my dad was so present, so close, and so whatever. So a lot of that like leaks into like provider, protector, the life I give them, core memories, trips, vacation. Like, I'm not in a comparison trap with everybody else, or like, comparing some of that stuff. My motivation is, man, that's the type of life I want to leave behind. That's the type of legacy I want to leave behind when I step out of this life and into the next. Does that kind of make sense, what I'm saying?
No, it totally does. But I'm not saying but to rebuttal that. I would love for you to add, though, how do you do that today?
Yeah. So today, it's exactly right where I am, where I wake up. Okay, I'm in Denver. My family's in Tennessee. How do I still impact my kids today?
Yeah.
How am I close? So I rolled out of bed at 6 a.m. this morning, and I jumped on a FaceTime, and I told Kylie, hey, I love you. It's good to see you. Let me see the kids. And I'm telling about what I'm doing, right? And I'm having a conversation with my kids. What did you guys do yesterday? Hey, this is what Dad's doing today. I'll call in. I'll check in, whatever, all that stuff. Like, I'm still, like, distance doesn't define it, right? So I'm still present. I'm still doing all that stuff. Like, hey, I'm going to bring y'all something back, all that. So there's that. And then I'm shoulder to shoulder with these people. And so I want to foster and facilitate an experience where it's like what I talked about before the podcast started. Like, hey, I can get really fired up. The reason I want to bring you to Denver is that you catch a different vision for your life, and you go home and you can't live the same because of what you experienced here. So I'm doing that.
Exactly. And I think moments stack.
Yeah.
And so if you want a moment to come in your future that matters to you, that's a big deal, that has XYZ in it,
Yeah.
We start getting there if we start living it here.
Right. Yeah.
It's this moment that stacks on the next one.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. This might be like a derail of the conversation. I agree with that. I just don't live my life in moments.
Sure.
For me, it's just like this is just my life, and it's less about the moment and more about like my intentionality over every single day. I'm going to be intentional. I am going to be intentional with my time, with my actions, with my thought life, with the things that I do, because there is an end goal of how I want to die.
Would you say that thinking about how you want to die is one of the most important things you've done?
Yeah, I think.
Or do?
Yeah, I think so. Because if I don't live in a certain way, I won't die the way that I want to die. And I'm okay with that. Like I'm kind of, and this is fresh. Like I'm in an era right now a lot of like just thinking. This is not morbid. Like I'm not sad or anything. So don't go back on watch or whatever. I'm just thinking a lot about like how do I want to end. And like my grandpa, he's dead now. He loved NASCAR. And he would always do this thing. Any NASCAR, NASCAR fans?
Quarter mile at a time.
Yeah. Okay, Dominic Toretto. But my experience with NASCAR is everyone like watches the beginning, falls asleep through the rest of the race, and then wakes up and watches the finish line. And so the beginning and the end, like that's what's like super like attractional, like that matters. But the middle matters too, right? So for me, I'm thinking about, okay, like I'm in the middle, but the finish line is coming. And if I'm not careful, I will look up and I will have wasted my life on me, and I will die a way that I don't want, and I'll be done. Dude, I will be done. We just like, this is all we get. And so you can live your life whimsical, like that's great. And you can, like, there are those free-spirited Enneagram 7s, right? Can we talk about that? Whatever. But for me, it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to land someplace at the end. Yeah. And so the middle matters. It's not just, we're, the beginning and the end. It's everything in the middle.
As we wrap this conversation up, I want us to end with this thought, if that's okay. With all of us sitting here, what is the best question that we need to be asking today?
The best question we need to be asking of ourselves? I think, like, to be honest, it really is, who am I becoming? And then course correcting. Like every day, it's not true. Let's be more realistic. Like weekly, I kind of have this debrief moment, like at the end of the week, where I look back and I'm like, gosh, did I get it? Like, did I really get it? And then like taking personal inventory of, did this week's habits and disciplines and actions steer me towards the course of where I want to go? Or did I get a little like lost in the weeds? And then with like that and those personal things of like, who am I becoming? Like, I think little things like compromising on the little things is just training myself to compromise on the big things. So it's a little bit of self-inventory of like, where did I cheat this week? Like, where did I get lazy? Where did I not care as much? We have this thing with our kids. We try to give them like core identifier statements for our family. And one of the things that we tell our kids is Weikle's do the right thing. And so like my kids will do something and they'll choose like an easy way, like the easy way out, or like a slacker way out, or, just take shortcuts and cut corners. And I'm like, hey, what do Weikle's do? And they're like, oh, the right thing. I'm like, that's right. But I'm preaching that because I need to like do that, like, because it's about who I'm becoming. Am I becoming somebody who does the easy thing, the lazy thing? Am I becoming somebody by like the condition of my life and the pattern of my life and what I'm doing that's gonna fall short of of the way I want to die, and the way like I want to end my life? And like the story that I want to leave, the legacy I want to leave, the thing that's forever and not just for now? Am I becoming that person? And maybe in some of that too, that's where my motivation comes from too. So I think really the most important question we could be asking is like, hey, who are you becoming? Like, and why? Yeah. Is that just happening to you, or are you making that happen?
That's good. That's good. Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, dude.
Man, thank you guys for being here. Hopefully that was helpful, and hopefully that was helpful to everyone that's listening. Look, Full Vantage Podcast, we're trying to get the different vantage points of people right around us, people we want to talk to. And I always want to encourage you to do that and maybe even think through what are some really simple ways that you can actually apply the conversation today or learn about the next generation that's right around you. So hopefully you're encouraged. See all of the things that you need to actually have happen in your life come into your life, as well as become that person. So thank you, Patrick.
No,
You're the
thanks,
man.
dude. You're the
That
best.
was a blast.
Love you.
Goodness gracious. Love you. Full Vantage Podcast. See you guys later.